Today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. Did you know that in order to get your stimulus check, you had to have filed your taxes for the 2018 or 2019 tax year? If you haven't filed for 2018 or 2019, there's good news. The Tax Defense Group can rush e-file your taxes. They know that millions of Americans are struggling, and they want to make sure that you get your stimulus check sooner rather than later. Call the Tax Defense Group today at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Writer Junkie. Due to the global pandemic and economic downturn, Writer Junkie is offering their resume writing service for only $100. And with a 3-day turnaround, you can't beat that price and delivery time. Call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. Mention that you saw this ad on UCast Studios, and they'll get right to work. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Lakers Outsiders Weekly Podcast, brought to you by UCast Studios. I'm your host, Gary Kester, here with you as always, and we can finally say it, the NBA is back. Well, sort of. So, today I'm going to be talking about the NBA's agreed-upon plan to resume the 2019-2020 NBA season and their attempt to try and finish it and crown a champion. I'm going to be going over the format that we've seen reported that's been agreed to by the NBA Board of Governors and the NBA Players Association, kind of what that format's going to look like, what to expect with that, and how that pertains to the Lakers and what impact it could have on their quest to get their 17th NBA championship and try and get this 2020 NBA title. So I'm going to go over that today, but before I do that, as always, guys, if you're watching this or listening to it on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button for me and go ahead and subscribe to Lakers Outsiders and UCast Studios on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow me on Twitter. My personal account is at Gary Kester. That's GaryKester. And then, of course, with Lakers Outsiders, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Lakers Outsiders. You can also like us on Facebook or get all of our content up on LakersOutsiders.com. We'll obviously be watching with a close eye as the NBA starts to inch towards their official return that has finally been agreed upon. I'm excited. Still a little ways to go, but the plan is in place. We saw a lot of different ideas floated out there, a lot of rumors on what formatting could be, and I was going to do a podcast last week on kind of what we were hearing. First, it was the 1 through 16 reseeding, where it was basically just the top 16 teams. And at that point, it was basically no conferences. We're just going to do a 1 through 16 bracket, but that kind of fell through, and they're going to stick with traditional conferences. But basically, the format is it sounds like the teams are going to play a couple preseason games, or they're calling them preseason games, little tune-up games. That's one report I saw. I don't know the legitimacy of that, but we do know that teams, not all the teams are coming back. It looks like 22 teams will be meeting basically in Orlando and quarantine there until this whole thing is over. Or I would assume if you get eliminated, you're allowed to go home. But basically it's 22 teams. So the bottom teams in the league are not able to participate. Basically their season is over. So one thing that really sucks about this is I'm a big North Carolina fan, so I hate to see Vince Carter's career end this way. Since the Hawks are out of it, they were 20-47. They're not even close in the playoff mix. But we're going to see 9 teams in the Eastern Conference, and then it'll be 13 teams in the Western Conference. Basically, the criteria that we've seen to allow teams to still have a chance at making the playoffs is you had to be within 6 games of a top 8 spot in your conference. So in the East, it was only one team. It was the Washington Wizards. They were 5.5 games back, I believe. So they're the only East team that was outside of the playoff mix that still has a shot. In the West, you're going to have the top 8 seeds. So you're going to have the Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Jazz, Thunder, Rockets, Mavericks, and Grizzlies. But then on top of that, you're also going to have the Blazers, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Phoenix Suns. It's kind of weird to see the Phoenix Suns in that mix, but they were only 6 games out, which, I mean, it was very unlikely for them to be able to, get in that mix. But, I mean, they got a shot now. But basically all these teams are going to play 8 games. How the schedule is going to go is basically you're going to play their teams are going to play their schedule, but they're going to skip over the games of those teams that are not going to be participating. So like if the Lakers, for example, had a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, you basically skip that game and go to the next game that is a team that's going to be in this format. So the Lakers' schedule will be as follows. And again, there's going to be no home or road games. I mean, they might just do it for what uniform to wear or whatever, but since there's probably going to be it sounds like there's going to be no fans in attendance. It's basically a neutral site. All the teams are playing in Orlando, so there's no really home and away games. But the Lakers' schedule for these 8 games should be as follows. The Rockets, the Nuggets, the Jazz twice, back-to-back. They had a home scheduled with the Jazz. So Rockets, Nuggets, Jazz twice, and then the Raptors, the Wizards, the Pacers, and then they cap off their regular season, in air quotes, with the Sacramento Kings. So for the Lakers, it's really interesting to see how this is going to play out because they have such a big lead in with the number 1 seed in the West, which now obviously is really just for seeding purposes. There's no home court advantage or anything, which really sucks because they fought hard to get that, and now that's gone. But it's more for seeding purposes, which I still think having the 1 seed will be beneficial, especially if the Clippers. Because to me, I mean, I'm not ruling anything out, especially now because these are very weird circumstances. But to me, there are 3 clear teams that are ahead of everybody else, and that's the Bucks, the Lakers, and the Clippers. I'd be surprised if anybody else won the title. But like I said, these are very strange circumstances, so you really can't rule anything out. A team could get hot at the right time, and in these neutral settings, I mean, who knows? You could have a surprise team come in out of nowhere and win the whole thing. So, but ideally for the Lakers and the Clippers, what they probably both want is to be 1 and 2 somehow, some way, or 1 and 3 or whatever. They probably just don't want to be 2 and 3 or have one be 1 and the other one be 4, which the Lakers can't actually even drop all the way to 4. The lowest that they could drop is 3, and I think that would require them losing every game and the Nuggets winning every game. So the Lakers at worst are going to finish in the top 2 in the West. It would take a pretty epic meltdown to drop from 1 to 2 even for the Lakers. So I think their magic number would be 3. So they would either need a combination of 3 Lakers wins or Clippers losses. So the Lakers, like I said, unless they just have an epic choke job, epic meltdown, they're going to be the 1 seed in the West. And who they play is going to depend. So basically, one thing with this format is for that 8 seed, as long as whoever's in 9th is within, I think it was 3 games, will get a play-in game. I can't remember if it was a play-in game or if it was like a best of 3. But basically the 8 and 9 seeds, if they're within 3 games of each other, are going to duke it out for that last playoff spot, that 8th spot. So right now, I think that would be Portland, because the tiebreakers, which has been kind of a big talking point because you've had teams play different numbers of games, and now they're all going to play 8 games, so teams are going to finish the season with different numbers of games. There's obviously not going to be a full 82 game slate for all the teams, but the tiebreakers are basically just going to go off of win percentage. So, for example, like the Blazers and the Pelicans right now are both 3.5 games behind the Grizzlies for that 8th spot. But the Blazers are 29 and 37. They've played 2 more games. The Pelicans are 28 and 36. Their win percentage right now is .438. or 43.8, whatever format you use for that. The Blazers' win percentage is 43.9 win percentage. So they have just a slight edge over the Pelicans and the Kings, who are both 28 and 36. Really, I mean, the 9 through 13 race will be really interesting to watch because those teams are within 2.5 games of one another. From 9 down to 13, the Blazers down to the Suns. It goes Blazers, Pelicans, Kings, Spurs, Suns. Yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see who can get or who finishes in that 9th spot and if they're within 3 games. Because right now, all those teams are outside of 3 games. They're 3.5 games. 3 of them are 3.5 games. The Spurs are 4 games, and the Suns are 6 games. So those teams have a little bit of work to do to get within that little bubble to give them a shot, at least at the 8 seed. So it'll be really interesting to see how the seeds shake out. I really liked the current West seeds for the Lakers because you had the Clippers in that 2 spot, which means that the Lakers wouldn't have to play them until the Western Conference Finals, assuming both teams got there. You'd have the Rockets in the 6th spot. So the Rockets have been kind of a tough matchup for the Lakers. I don't know exactly what to expect with them because they don't have any size anymore. They play extreme small ball now, which is kind of funky, but it can cause teams some problems. It's a little unorthodox. We saw it in the Rockets' first game with the Lakers, which I think was more of an anomaly than anything else because they just hit a ton of threes, which they're capable of that, but they shot just outrageously well that night, and the Lakers still had a good shot to beat them. And then after that, the Rockets kind of struggled. So we'll see what goes on with them. Every team's coming off basically a full offseason, so teams will be well rested. They should be healthy. And really, with the 8 games, that's all the Lakers should be worried about, is just getting through those things healthy. There's no home court to really fight for anymore, even though like I said, they're going to get the 1 seed. If they don't, I'd be shocked. But it's all going to be a matter of seeding right now. And with just 8 games, you would think that not a lot of stuff can happen, but it really can. It really can. I mean, the Lakers are 5.5 games up on the Clippers. They're 7 games up on the Nuggets. And those are the only 2 teams that could catch them. But the Clippers and Nuggets are within 1.5 games of each other. And from 3 down on to 7, all those teams, the 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, are all within 4 games of each other. Now, it's unlikely that Dallas catches Denver and makes up 4 games in a matter of 8 games. But there's a lot of shuffling that could take place with those seeds. And then, obviously, the 8 seed, too, can be drastically different. Because right now, the Lakers will play the Grizzlies, and I'd feel really confident in that matchup just because the Grizzlies are super young. The Lakers are very experienced, got a lot of championship pedigree on that roster. And the Lakers are just better. The Lakers are just better. They're going to be better than any team that they face in that first-round matchup. So I'm not overly worried about it. But if they get a team like Portland has been there before, and I think they'll probably have Yusuf Nurkic back, so they'll look a little different. Damian Lillard, obviously, CJ McCollum, 2 guys that can really light it up, and Lillard strikes fear into me. He's one of the few guys in the league that truly makes me a little fearful, just because we saw it, firsthand in that game where the Lakers were honoring Kobe's memory. Lillard was insane. Just absolutely went nuts, and he's capable of doing that for a series. So it'll be a little worrisome, but I think the Lakers match up pretty well with them. My only concern would really be Lillard. So, but ultimately, we're going to get to see playoff LeBron, and that's exciting, especially coming off of some time off. He's going to be rested. He's going to be ready to go. I'm excited to watch that. So, but yeah, you look at these other teams that they could possibly match up with in the first round. If they get the Suns, which is unlikely because the Suns have some ground, quite a bit of ground to make up in just 8 games, I think the Lakers would wipe the floor with the Suns. If they played the Spurs, I think that's a great matchup for the Lakers. I honestly would like to see them play the Spurs just so we can beat them in the playoffs because I love beating the Spurs. Growing up watching the Lakers and Spurs battle in the playoffs all the time, I have a genuine disdain for the Spurs, so I would love to see the Lakers beat them. especially with how petty the Spurs and Greg Popovich have been towards the Lakers the last couple of years, and trying not to didn't want to trade Kawhi there, and then basically tried to prevent Anthony Davis from getting traded there. So it would be really sweet to get the Spurs in the first round. But if they could get the Kings as well, I think that's a great matchup for the Lakers. I think they would beat them pretty easily. The Pelicans are a very young team, and it would be kind of funny to see Davis as the one seed with the Lakers play against his old team in the first round of the playoffs, and you'd have all the baby Lakers with Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, those guys. Again, they're kind of the same boat as Memphis. I think they're too young, and I think the Lakers would beat them very easily. And yeah, that's how I feel about those. Portland is the team that strikes a little bit of fear into me, although I still think the Lakers would beat them just because Lillard is that dude. He's insanely good, one of my favorite non-Laker players. He can go off at any moment, and he can sustain that throughout a series. So, that's what gives me a little bit of apprehension about playing Portland. But again, like I said, I think that the Lakers would beat them. So on the other side of this quick break, I am going to talk more about the schedule for the Lakers and kind of how the favorable seedings and stuff like that. So here's a quick message from our sponsors, and I will be back with you guys in just a second. Today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. Did you know that in order to get your stimulus check, you had to have filed your taxes for the 2018 or 2019 tax year? If you haven't filed for 2018 or 2019, there's good news. The Tax Defense Group can rush e-file your taxes. They know that millions of Americans are struggling, and they want to make sure that you get your stimulus check sooner rather than later. Call the Tax Defense Group today at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Writer Junkie. Due to the global pandemic and economic downturn, Writer Junkie is offering their resume writing service for only $100. And with a 3-day turnaround, you can't beat that price and delivery time. Call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. Mention that you saw this ad on UCast Studios, and they'll get right to work. Okay, so how I think the Lakers should really go after these games, how they do it is going to be really intriguing to watch. But these 8 games, I really would kind of look at it from a similar perspective as you would treat the preseason. Usually I think the preseason is 8 games. And, it'll be really interesting to see how Frank Vogel handles the rotation and things like that, because obviously you want to get your guys' legs under you, but you want to keep guys healthy. You don't want to risk injury going into the playoffs, the games that really matter. And I'm curious to see if they treat this kind of like you would the preseason, because you could have like 3 games that are like a full dress rehearsal where LeBron and AD play 32, 34, 35 minutes. You have your starters play like their normal rotation and things like that. But a lot of these games, you could get your bench a lot of run and get them some reps before going into the postseason, because you're going to need those role players that step up. We see it with every championship team. There's always those moments where role players step up and make big plays. So, but at the same time, you also want your starters to kind of shake off the rust and really kind of get back in the flow of things and get their legs under them. Obviously, I'm not worried about the Lakers having anybody that's not in shape or anything like that. There's going to be, a full training camp that these teams are allowed to have in preparation for the start date, which is supposed to be July 31st, all the way up until early October for the NBA Finals. So I'm really curious to see how Frank Vogel handles that. Personally, I would kind of I'd try and just clinch the 1 seed, and then you just kind of go a little easy at that, enough to shake off the rust, but and try and get guys' legs under them. But I wouldn't go crazy with the minutes. But I'm sure Vogel will communicate with his guys and see what they're comfortable with and kind of go based on that. Vogel, I think, has done a fantastic job all year. So I have full faith in him, full trust in him, and guys like LeBron and AD know their bodies. The goal just has to be get to the playoffs healthy, get through these 8 games healthy, and then let's rock. Let's roll. Let's go after this championship. Let's go get it. So looking at the seeding, I'd be surprised if the Lakers have to play the Clippers before the Western Conference Finals. The Clippers are 3 games up on the 4 seed, the Jazz right now. That would be a lot for them to drop in just 8 games. I don't see that happening. The Clippers could potentially fall to 3, which really it would be the same thing. If the Lakers were 1 and the Clippers are 3, it's basically the same thing. There's no home court or anything like that. I'm curious to just see how these seeds break out. Honestly, I mean, this could come back to bite me, but really the only team that worries me is the Clippers. The Clippers are really, really tough. They're really good. They have some strengths where I think the Lakers have some weaknesses. But I still have confidence that the Lakers could beat them in a 7-game series. With that being said, I'm just ready for basketball. I'm so ready for these games to start, for everything. I've missed basketball. Man, it's been about 3 months now since we've had the shutdown and everything, and I am so ready for the games to be back. It'll be interesting to see as well when next season starts, because they've got dates set for the draft and free agency and stuff like that. They marked December 1st as a target date for the start of next season. I think that gets pushed back more towards Christmas, especially because for the 2 NBA Finals teams, they're going to be playing in early October. So December 1st would be kind of a quick turnaround. You're looking at probably like a 7-week turnaround, 6 weeks. That's pretty quick. With new rosters and everything. So I think they'll push that back probably more towards Christmas. I think that's something the players would be cool with. I think fans would love the season opener to be on Christmas Day. That would be really cool. 2011 when they did that was a lot of fun. So that's something to keep an eye on. But the Lakers, we'll have to see how the seeds shake out. But I mean, ultimately, as long as I think, they don't play the Clippers until the Western Finals, which I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have to go through the best teams to win the title. So I don't really care that much. Even if the Clippers somehow fell to 4 and the Lakers had to play them in the second round, bring them on. Like, let's do it. So I'm not overly worried about the other teams in the West. I think the Lakers would beat the Nuggets. The Jazz, Anthony Davis just seems to eat them up. He's like the perfect answer for Rudy Gobert. I'm not going to make a joke about Gobert, but I wanted to, but I'm not going to. The Thunder, I think the Lakers match up really, really well with. Heck, they went into Oklahoma City without their 3 best players and still beat them. So, I think they could beat all these teams. I think that, like I said, I think that Rockets game was kind of fluky that they beat the Lakers because they kind of came crashing back to earth right after that. The Mavericks have proven to be kind of tough for the Lakers. Beat them once in LA, could have beaten them again the first time they met in Dallas. Danny Green hit the game-tying 3 at the buzzer to go into overtime. The Lakers took care of business in overtime. I still think the Lakers would beat them. Like I said, it comes down to the Clippers. The Clippers and the Bucks are the 2 teams that pose the toughest threat for the Lakers. But I think they're more than capable of beating those 2 teams. We're going to see playoff LeBron, albeit in kind of some weird circumstances, some weird settings. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see LeBron and AD in the playoffs. Like I said, let's just get through these 8 games healthy, and let's rock and roll from that point on. Again, those 8 games for the Lakers are going to be the Rockets, Nuggets, the Jazz twice, the Raptors, the Wizards, the Pacers, and the Kings. So you're going to get a little bit of West and East. Lakers get another crack at the Raptors. Feels like it's been forever since they beat those guys. So it'll be really fun. It's going to be weird watching these games without fans. They talked about like pumping in noise via NBA 2K and stuff like that. I don't think it's really necessary. Like, let's play these games. We know it's odd circumstances, and hopefully by the time next season rolls around, everything can be back to normal. We can have fans in stadiums and stuff like that. We just want to let's just get the ball rolling. Let's roll the ball out there. Let's let these teams play, and let's crown a 2020 champion, and then move into the offseason. This has been beyond weird, to say the least, but I'm really, really excited to have basketball back next month, July 31st, and let's do it. Let's get the games going. So, didn't talk much about the East in this podcast. I mean, this is a Lakers podcast, so I'm more focused on the Western Conference. But yeah, like I said, 9 teams in the East basically duking it out, and I'd be surprised if anybody but the Bucks comes out of that. But you never know. We kind of thought that last year, and the Raptors took care of them. But the Raptors did have Kawhi Leonard. They're still very good this year, but they don't have Kawhi this year, so who knows if they'll be the same level of threat. The Celtics are tough. A Lakers-Celtics finals on a neutral site would be kind of funky. Yeah, I mean, there's some good teams in the East. The Sixers are a team I'm still kind of keeping an eye on just because I think they've got a lot of talent, and I think they're a team that was kind of built for the playoffs, but who knows what playoff basketball exactly is going to be like this year. There's obviously the intensity is probably dipped a little bit with no crowd noise or anything like that, and just weird circumstances. So don't want to rule anything out, and I always believe anything can happen in sports. But again, to me, it's still Lakers, Clippers, Bucks. If neither of those teams wins the title, I'd be very surprised. So Lakers got a good shot. We just got to get guys back in, get through training camp, and these 8 games healthy, and then let's see. I want to see playoff LeBron in purple and gold, man. It's been way too long since we saw Lakers playoff basketball. It's kind of weird that this is how we break the drought, but I'll take it. And at the end of the day, if the Lakers win the championship, I don't care how many fans are in attendance or whatever. Still counts. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys listening, and sorry if I've kind of rambled on a little bit, but I'm just excited. I'm just excited for the games to start. I'm excited for basketball to be back. Still got about 6 weeks or so before we really get into it, or 7 weeks, I guess. But I'm just pumped. I'm really, really pumped. So hopefully everything goes according to plan, and hopefully, these guys stay quarantined between now and when the games start, and then when the games start, they all stay, where they're supposed to and everything, and we can get through this with nobody testing positive or anything like that. So hopefully everything goes according to plan. We can finish out the season in the playoffs and crown a 2020 champion, and hopefully that champion is wearing purple and gold. So, all right, I'm getting out of here. Thanks again for listening, guys. Be sure to follow us, Lakers Outsiders and UCAS Studios. You can follow Lakers Outsiders on Twitter and Instagram, of course, at Lakers Outsiders, and you can like us on Facebook as well and get all of our content on LakersOutsiders.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Lakers Outsiders. And with UCAS Studios and Lakers Outsiders, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and then wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, thanks again, guys, for listening. I'm going to get out of here. Until next time, this is Gary Kester with the Lakers Outsiders, signing off.